Hello, my name is David Gakure. I'm originally from Rwanda, and I was born and raised in Montreal, and I've been in Ottawa for the past 10 years. My areas of interest are those of diversity and inclusion. I had a chance to become more aware and work more in those realms. But most explicitly, it's the matters when it's rooted in respect, in full acceptance, but also working directly and every day towards removing or reducing any barriers for full inclusions and full participation in society. I've had a chance to be in Ottawa, or the National Capital Region, for 10 or so years, and I've been blessed in having a mainly positive experience. But far too often, there is lots of times where some spaces I haven't been allowed to be part of. I've had a tough time having access to them, or worse, when I have finally accessing places that I'm entitled to, I was not feeling welcome. There's sometimes not anything worse than your presence or your being not being accepted when you're supposed to be somewhere. It's part of those reasons why I think events and moments like Black History Month are important, because we're intentionally taking the time to remember the many things that we're celebrating from the countries of Black folks in Canada and what we do. It's part of my resolution this year to continue to be more intentional and more intentional in the two areas that I like, which are diversity and inclusion, working towards that, but also giving myself the homework to do a lot of learning towards that, unlearning towards that, and hopefully helping others and myself be more comfortable in it and encouraging others. Lastly, I think Black History Month is not only celebrated to remember what is past, what is the future, as well as the many things we're doing in the community, but it's also an invitation to others to take part, to strongly support. There's many things to celebrate, but also not just being, we often hear the words of allyship and being an ally, which should not just be a one-day badge of honor, but it's something that we should do every day and should be continued. So I strongly encourage folks to take part, celebrate with us, remember with us, listen to our stories, come to our communities, but also be with us not only in good times, but also when it's tougher times and as we stand together. Today I'll be talking about Viola Desmond. Mrs. Desmond was an important figure in Canada, but also in Nova Scotia. Great influence, thriving entrepreneur, businesswoman, and mentor to a lot of people. We have a few things in common, really minimal. Large family, 10 siblings. I had 5 siblings. Also, she studied in Montreal, which at the time was one of the only institution that she could go and was accepting Black applicants. We've heard of Viola Desmond in many different ways. We see her in our $10 bill. We also have a chance to see her in the Heritage Minutes and Moments, which are really important to remember. At that time in 1946, when she was escorted out and faced violence for just being herself and wishing to just enjoy a normal experience and activity and just live and be herself in the movie theaters. That point was important for many, many reasons. One of them was that while she was a thriving entrepreneur and well within her means, she was willing and able to pay for the fees. But the patrons were not accepting her for being herself and sitting with whites, but rather going to the non-white section and segregated sections upstairs. Violently was she pushed away, but she also even more faced violence by the justice system. When she was faced and appeared in court, not only was she not allowed and not given rights to be represented, but also they were not alluding to race as a central motive to it. Instead, they went for tax avoidance and the fact that she was defrauding the government, which was not the case. The violence in there is that not only are we putting aside her identity, putting aside what happened, but also we're looking at freedom of businesses and commerce, superseding individual freedoms of rights and discrimination and not being allowed to be discriminated against. This caused a lot of turmoil, obviously, but this also is only one part of who Viola Desmond was. Before that incident, she was not only a great mentor and a great thriving entrepreneur and woman in the community, but she was giving opportunities, encouraging others and lifting others to get them and give them a fighting chance to be themselves, but also to be also a force in Nova Scotia and in Black Canada. People were coming from all over, not only Nova Scotia, from Montreal and sometimes as far west as can be. But also she was creating that bond, that community in beauty parlors and beauty salons where a certain bond can be exchanged and it will be a safe and positive space for all to be themselves. But afterwards, after the incidents, she also galvanized communities and people stood with her and tried to fight with her all the way through the justice system, which consequently and over again rejected her case. She faced a lot of violence, obviously, and that was a definite turning point. And we can only imagine what she lived afterwards. She even closed her business and relocated outside of Nova Scotia to Montreal and then later in New York. As things are changing and moving forward, she was finally received a free pardon from the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia. Finally righting a wrong that was long overdue. What really encourages me and what I really like about that part of her life, not only at the beginning, but also at the end, is what she did with the communities around her. Not only did she trailblaze and lifted and created paths for others, she picked people up and brought them along for her own life and lifted them and giving opportunities that were never given to others before. But her life also spoke volume and added and helped people to not only see injustice for what it is, see social injustice for what it was, as pernicious as it was in Canada, but also stand for something, stand alongside her for social justice. We see her again every day. We recognize her in 2019 as the Government of Canada as a Historic Person of the Year. We see her in our $10 bill. We see her in Historica Canada. But for me personally, and I can only speak for myself, it's an important lesson that never taking anything for granted, and that also a lot of work has been done, but we should continue to fight to have our places and our spaces that are rightfully ours, where we can be fully accepted and be fully ourselves. For more information, follow the links below.